come to order. This is a duly advertised meeting of the Joliet Zoning Board of Appeals. In our capacity, we hear petitions for relief from the strict provisions of our city ordinance. In matters of this type, the decision of this board is final. Respect, it does not go to the mayor or the city council for any further action. If you disagree with our decision, you do have recourse in a court of record. We also hear petitions for variations of land use. In matters of this type, we act as an advisory committee to the mayor and city council, making a recommendation either for or against it. The final decision on land use is made by the mayor and the city council. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bias.
Here.
Mr. Nachtrieb. Ms. Radakovich.
Here.
Mr. Riggs.
Here.
Ms. Rohr. Mr. Stiff.
Here.
Chairman Hennessy.
Here.
All right. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting that was held January 16th of 2025.
Motion to be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve. Call the board.
Ms. Radakovich. Mr. Riggs.
Aye.
Mr. Stiff.
Aye.
Mr. Bias.
Aye.
Chairman Hennessy.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding agenda items, and you are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. I will note that if you're here for a public hearing agenda item, you are also able to talk during the time when that agenda item is called.
How you doing? I'm Jim Lanham. I'm a Joliet resident since...
Hold on. I must swear you in first.
Okay.
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, sir, I do.
Name and address.
James Lanham, 4230 Doe Court, Joliet, Illinois, 60431. Anyway, I'm here to speak out in support of 2025-03. I saw previously a similar business was shot down at the council level, and I think that was because of unfounded and baseless concerns, especially if proper security protocols are in place. Dispensaries by law have oblique blacked out windows so they can't be seen from the outside inside. There's controlled access, usually coming in and before the retail floor. So any concerns that unwanteds are going to get in and out and stuff like that are just not really valid. So I think this will be a great revenue source for the city. Dispensaries pay municipalities 3% of their retail sales to a municipality, plus the local sales tax. And that would be a very, very big thing, good thing for our city. So I would ask that this board approves this project and can go to the council level for further approval. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, my name is Jack Kermansky.
Do you swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
Yes,
Name and address.
Jack Kermansky, 2532 Par 4 Court, Joliet, 60436.
Go ahead.
I'm here in opposition to the variance. 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, one was shot down. I don't know if any of the circumstances have changed since that time, but I think the same opposition holds valid today. Years ago, Joliet used to be Jefferson Street, used to be known as the Golden Mile. If you take a ride from downtown to the present location where this is a place to be, with all the vape shops, liquor stores, we don't need another marijuana dispensary. We already have 2 on the west side of Joliet. We don't need Jefferson Street to be the Golden High Mile instead of the Golden Mile. I'm within walking distance of that area. Children going to school, high school students going to school are in walking distance to that area. And I just don't think it's a valuable business to place what Joliet needs to be. What kind of business do we need in Joliet to support the ethics of Joliet? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let's continue then.
All right, next on the agenda is Come on up.
My name is John.
Nope, I have to swear you in, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Swear
I've
the
never
evidence
done
you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law.
that. Yes.
Name and address now.
John Kamal. And,
Come
I'm sorry?
No, go proceed, go ahead.
John Kamal, 5311 East Saddle Road Drive, Joliet.
Do you have some comments you'd like to make?
Yes, I do. Joliet needs a third location because it's still underserved. The two nearby locations are corporate owned, and there's a real need for a social equity company that truly represents the company or this community. This would provide better accessibility, more local job opportunities, and a business that aligns with the people it serves. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let's go with the agenda.
All right, next on the agenda, I should say, is old business public hearing, under which we have no agenda items. So now we have, under new business public hearing, we have petition 2025
03.
03, which is a request for a special use permit to allow an adult use cannabis dispensary. The petitioner is Liam LLC, and the property owner is the Chicago Title Land Trust Company, trust number 80023888194. And the location is 2021 West Jefferson Street. For purpose, the petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow an adult use cannabis dispensary located at 2021 West Jefferson Street. This request must be considered by the City Council following the recommendation of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Under site-specific information, this building was built for a Napa Auto Parts store in 2014 as the result of a land subdivision with the adjacent Walgreens building that had been constructed in 2004. The two-lot subdivision has a shared drive aisle and parking. Napa Auto Parts vacated the building in June 2024 and moved less than 200 feet west to 2155 West Jefferson Street. This building has been vacant since that time. The single-story building is approximately 6,000 square feet in size. The building has parking for 35 vehicles, and the adjacent Walgreens lot has more than double that amount. The property has shared ingress-egress onto Jefferson Street as well as Hames Avenue. The property in question is Zone B3 General Business District. For surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the property sits in close proximity to the Marycrest Shopping Plaza, and the surrounding properties are all Zone B3 General Business District, with a mix of commercial uses. To the north is stormwater detention. To the south is a multi-tenant shopping plaza known as the Marycrest Shopping Plaza. To the east is Walgreens, and to the west is a multi-tenant retail building. Applicable regulations include 47-13.2A, special uses for B3 general business districts, 47-15I, adult use cannabis, 47-5.2C, which is the criteria for issuance of a special use permit. Under discussion, Liam LLC is the contract purchaser of this property who is acting on behalf of Beltiste to seek approval of a special use permit to allow an adult use cannabis dispensary at the vacant retail property. The City of Joliet zoning ordinance allows adult use cannabis dispensaries in the B3 General Business District subject to the approval of a special use permit. Beltiste Wellness is a vertically integrated cannabis company focused on health and wellness. If the special use permit is approved, the building at 2121 West Jefferson Street will be leased to Beltiste, who will operate the dispensary under the name Bisalina Cannabis Dispensary. Beltiste Wellness currently operates a dispensary under this name in Carroll Stream, Illinois. Their cultivation operations are based out of Battle Creek, Michigan. Beltiste operations team and partners have operated and consulted with many dispensaries in several markets, including California, Oklahoma, and Michigan. Upon Joliet municipal approval, Veltiste will purchase a conditional adult use dispensing organization license from the state of Illinois. As detailed in the attached floor plan, the layout of the proposed dispensary distinguishes among the dispensary's public area, limited access areas, and highly restricted areas. The proposed dispensary's public area is limited solely to the waiting area accessed through the main entrance to the building located at the southeast corner. The remaining space consists of showroom, sales floor area, including point of sales cashier's vault, which is limited access, and packaging area and security, which is our highly restricted areas. Additional details on their operations plan can be found in the attachment to the staff report. State law provides that a dispensary is allowed to be open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. According to B. Salina, the dispensary would be open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. The company intends to employ around 20 people with 4 to 7 employees on site at any given time, including 1 security guard. B. Salina expects to serve 300 to 700 customers per day at this location, with peak periods between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., and with Thursday and Friday being the highest traffic days. During peak hours, the dispensary expects to serve 50 to 80 customers per hour. During off-peak hours, 15 to 40 customers per hour are expected. If there is ever a need to implement a waiting line, there is an adequate area for line queuing on the sidewalk that extends along the east side of the building. According to B. Salina, many of the customers at other facilities pre-order their products, limiting the time they spend in the store. B. Salina estimates that the average visit by a customer will be less than 10 minutes. The security plan for the proposed dispensary includes an unarmed security guard on site during business hours. Trained, unarmed security guards will be stationed at entrances and patrolling the premises during all business hours. Guards will monitor customer flow, assist with any security incidents, and coordinate with law enforcement if needed. Guards will ensure no loitering or unauthorized activity occurs on or near the property. Detailed information on their proposed security plan can be found in the attached operations narrative. The redevelopment of this former auto parts store also includes renovations to the facade to rebrand this building. Conceptual building elevations as well as a conceptual floor plan are included with the staff report packet. The facade will be updated with the introduction of a new color scheme and a 2-story main entrance with planes of glass. The redevelopment of this property also includes new landscaping along the front and sides of the building, as well as 5-foot wide landscaping along the perimeter of the rear parking area and landscaped parking islands. The proposed conceptual site plan and conceptual landscape plan are attached to the staff report. The traffic impact study can also be found as an attachment. Based on staff's analysis, staff finds that the proposed use, including its site plan and operational details, meet the special use permit criteria outlined in section 47-5.2C of the zoning ordinance, as well as the additional special use permit requirements outlined in section 47-15I adult use cannabis of the zoning ordinance. The proposed use should not have any impact on existing or planned uses located within the vicinity of the subject property. Under suggested conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve the special use permit, the following conditions would be included. 1, that the special use permit granted shall herein terminate and lapse unless a building permit or certificate of occupancy is obtained no later than 180 days of the effective date of the ordinance, and the erection or alteration of a building is started or the use is commenced within such a period. And the rest is our standard 180-day language. And the second condition would be, should the property be declared a public nuisance, it may be subject to a rehearing and possible revocation of the special use permit. And that concludes staff's report.
Petitioner here.
Okay.
I'll swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Your name and address.
Nathaniel Washburn with KGG LLC, 111 North Ottawa Street here in Joliet. So I'd like to start out by saying staff gave a great report. We very much appreciate their hard work and effort in putting that report together, and we stand behind their conclusions. What Jane is just handing out to you is another bit of info that we wanted to present today, showing how this is both geographically and population-wise, a bit of an underserved area. And I know that sounds a little, somebody could say, well, why are you saying it's underserved? Well, you can see that in our other location in Carroll Stream, within 10 miles of that location, there are 11 other dispensaries. Here in Joliet, within 10 miles of the proposed facility, there would be 4, and 2 of those are the existing RISE facilities in Joliet. You'll notice that the existing RISE facilities are both on the west side, roughly, of Joliet, very close to I-55. This location is more centrally located and is better able to service both central Joliet and the eastern portions of Joliet. We would also like to point out that, while Jefferson Street, has a very historic past, it's been, the trend that things have been moving to the west side and things have been moving to other parts of the community. My client is proposing to invest, approximately $1.8 million in improving the facility, improving the facade, improving the building, which is an investment of substantial capital in Joliet and on Jefferson Street. So for those reasons, we would ask for your support and ask that you vote in support of this project, and we're of course here to answer any questions you might have for us.
Thank you. Any questions by the board?
How long has your, when you did the build out in Carroll Stream, how long was your build out?
5.5 months.
5.5 months.
What's your you finished? Projected revenue for the year?
Projected revenue for the year, we're projecting roughly $1 million in gross sales a month, which would be roughly $30,000 to the city of Joliet each month. So that would be what, $1.2 million a year and $360,000.
Let me correct that. It'd be $12 million top line, $360,000 to the city of Joliet for tax revenue.
Nate, do you want to repeat that? Yes, we have.
12 million. I can't math. I'm currently battling getting over a head cold, so I apologize. My math skills are not what they usually are, but 12 million top line, 360,000 to the city of Joliet.
Are you going to generate that even though RISE is already here?
Yes. In our previous locations, because of our corporate structure and our pricing model, we tend to be more competitive pricing-wise than some of our competitors, and as RISE controls the existing 2 locations, we believe that some of their existing may prefer to utilize our services, but also we believe that given the location being more centrally located, we'll be able to pull from people centrally and easternly located in Joliet, where their closest alternative is either to drive to the west side or to go to New Lenox.
Do you have any data on the use of marijuana? I'm just asking. That's related to drunk driving or accidents for kids.
Can I answer that? Or
Yeah, if you'd like to come up and join us.
sorry, I apologize. I'm in a little bit of pain. I need to go to surgery.
I have to swear you in, sir.
Yeah, my name is Dev Patel.
I have to swear you in. You swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law.
Yes.
Your name and address.
Dev Patel, 600 North Lakeshore Drive, Unit 3611, Chicago, Illinois. First of all, good afternoon. Thank you guys for your time. To answer your question about the youth, it's been something I spent extensive time. If you look at Colorado as a case study, which is probably has the longest lineage of cannabis, legal cannabis in America, in areas that have dispensaries, crime goes down, public educational reform increases. There's often stigmas, but the data, if you looked at hard data and facts, it would show that areas that have dispensaries are actually safer for children. Education typically increases in a positive manner, crime goes down. To answer your question prior about RISE and how we'd be differentiated, RISE is a big corporate structure that has about 100 dispensaries across America. They primarily push their own products because they grow them, they make them. I don't have anything bad to say about them. I'm not going to say they're a bad company. I'm not going to throw any sort of shade against them. I will say that we are brand agnostic, so we can provide the community an array of different products without any bias. Rise, however, produces their own products, so they want to make that extra margin, so they have bias. Being brand agnostic is typically good for a community. Most dispensaries, if you look at it throughout America, let alone Illinois, if the population is over 50,000, it is extremely rare. I've never seen it that one company has a monopoly in a city of stature and the size of Joliet. Typically, there's diversity and free market, and I think that we would actually be able to draw customers. Our current draw is we draw people from the city of Chicago, Schaumburg, Arlington Heights. We draw people that drive 50, 60 minutes to come to our store for a variety of different things. We're different in the world of we put hospitality first. We put our guests first. We cater in food every week. We feed people. We offer you a beverage the moment you walk in. And we believe in people. We believe in if someone chooses to come into our establishment, they're a guest in our home. And these things might be a little bit different than the competitors in the area. So that's one reason that we think we would be a great fit for this community, because we care about community. Our board members and our people that represent our company are on the board of charities. Mr. John Priscilla has been on the board of a hospital, Northwestern. He's worked with children for the last 15 years. I was on the board of Make-A-Wish, Illinois. These things are not to speak publicly about it. It's just we care. We care to do right. I'm not saying other people don't, but I think we'd be a great fit. I'd really appreciate your support.
One other thing. Are you telling me statistically that people who smoke cannabis, that crime goes down because of cannabis? Is that you telling me that?
No, I'm saying areas in which a dispensary establishment, that surrounding area, crime goes down. I'm not saying a consumer or an individual that smokes cannabis. However, I will say that tested product that is legal goes through an array of different testing. So it's much more safer than black market illegal product that's being sold all the time throughout every state. So if someone had the choice to choose something that's been tested in a laboratory free of pathogens, toxins, total yeast and mold, versus something that some guy just giving you in a plastic bag, I think it's much safer to have something that's tested.
Further questions by the board?
When you talk about parking, you have 35 parking spots,
Yes.
correct? Is there some type of agreement between you and Walgreens for shared parking? Because looking at, how many people you expect to come in an hour,
Sure.
you're gonna run out of parking spaces.
That's a great question. So we currently serve on the upwards of the range that we gave you guys, and we utilize less than 30 parking spots. Given the transaction times are about 120 to 180 seconds a guest, it's typically somebody comes in and they get out in a relatively timely manner. We don't expect to need any adequate or any parking from Walgreens.
To answer your question as well, if it's a sufficient concern, we can explore any sort of parking agreement or cross, access agreement. I don't recall if that subdivision already provides a cross, I know there's a cross access, but I don't know if there's a cross parking agreement. But if that's a sufficient concern for the board, we can certainly explore that as a backup option, but we don't anticipate a need for it.
What's your closest location to Joliet?
So there's two Rise stores.
No, not Rose, yours.
Oh, in Carroll Stream, 1.2 miles away. So in Carroll Stream, in the same proximity, there's over double the density. The legislative intent in the state of Illinois was to have 500 dispensaries. Illinois has approximately 12 million people. So it's one dispensary for every 24,000 people. That's kind of how they wrote it. They spread out the licenses based on regions. So the legislative intent was to draw one dispensary for every 24,000 people. That's why one of the comments that Nate made earlier is that we believe that Joliet's grossly underserved, because if you look at density of where dispensaries are at in Illinois right now, Joliet has probably the lowest density I've seen ever, right? So in Carroll Stream, for example, it's one dispensary for every 24,000 people. If you draw that out, that whole region's around 20 to 22,000. Right now, Joliet's one dispensary for every 75,000 people. To have sustainability long-term in cannabis, you want around 24 to 40,000 people Joliet could definitely use a third dispensary. In reality, they could realistically use a fourth. But given how they're laid out right now, one on the north corridor, one on the south, we believe that the Jefferson corridor is in between both of them. So geographically, if you look at it from like a geographic perspective and access for the community, we feel like Jefferson is a very good market for cannabis, given that it's kind of equidistant from the other two. It's not close, it's not right next to somebody. But right now, we have somebody a mile away, 1.1 miles to be exact. And we're both in business, right? So given that if we were fortunate to get your support and approval, we would be 4 miles away from each rise, which is substantial. And that would bring the population for a dispensary in the city of Joliet to 1 for every 50,000 people, which is still high. So it is, I'm sure Rise has the reasons to have 2 in a community, but Joliet, without a shadow of a doubt, can support a 3rd and 4th store.
You came before us before, right?
No, that was a different petitioner at a different location. It was it was in the vicinity of this location, but it was not this specific location or this petitioner.
Doors away.
Yeah.
This location is not in the St. Joe's TIF district, is that correct?
I don't.
I don't believe so.
No.
Any further comments, questions by the board?
You know, I went to Vietnam and I was in infantry there, and I saw some things, you know, that haunts me, really. I don't know. For the revenue part of what you sell, I like. The other part, I don't know.
That's fair.
All right.
We actually believe in military a lot in our establishment, so we try to hire those that have served our country. I've been doing this for a long time. I didn't come from cannabis. I'm not even necessarily even a user, right? Like, I do believe in it, but if you looked at data and those individuals that have gone through PTSD, much like myself, I've seen loss in front of me in a very graphic way, similar to what someone might experience in Vietnam. And I know our patients, right? I spent a lot of time talking to people. And if you're choosing between opioids for pain management or cannabis, cannabis wins every time. It will not take decades off your life. It is a much healthier alternative to the opioid epidemic that plagues America. You know, and as far as someone's personal stances, it is a legal thing. Cannabis is legal in the state of Illinois. If there's 2 Rise locations, is it really fair for the community to only have one corporate entity to choose to get their product from? In America, don't we come from a country where free market has different options? If there's only McDonald's, is there only a McDonald's in the city of Joliet? Or is there Wendy's, Burger King? Are there options? We're merely trying to do right by people, and this is legal. It checks off all of the boxes that were put before us as far as setbacks and everything else. As far as your personal views, I respect them. I respect where you're coming from, and it's not my place to change your perspective. I will say that it is legal, and having medically legal weed that has been tested is a much healthier alternative than black market. When children are smoking black market vapes, there's God knows what's in them, and there's more data that's going to come out. And that data and those court hearings that are going to happen are going to show that legal tested flower, legal tested concentrates are much healthier for you, much lower risk to children than something that some random guy just gives you. God knows what's in it. At least our product is tested. So if we're going to talk about safety, it is safer, it is better for the community, it's better for people that consume it. If someone doesn't want to walk into our store and they don't like cannabis, that's their choice. But we live in America where free will is really something that's been given to you. It's part of our Constitution, so I don't see any problem with what we're proposing. In fact, I think it's going to serve the community really well. It'll provide tax revenue, it'll provide safety, that area will have capital improvements to it. I think if you look at the pros and the cons, the pros far, far, far outweigh the cons.
One other short question. Would anybody in the population be forbidden from purchasing cannabis?
Anyone that's under 21?
Okay, that's the only.
That's it.
Oh, so it's, okay, all right.
And there'll be people that are prohibited to work for us if they have a criminal background, but anyone can walk in that's over 21. They have to have an ID, a valid ID.
Any other questions for the board? Chair is closing the petition, asking the board for discussion.
Appreciate your time,
Discussion
gentlemen.
and a motion.
Thank you.
People to talk
Oh, yeah.
for or against.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Come on up. Swear you in. Do you swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Name and address.
Tyler Wheat, here representing Mark International, 8800 Fairfield Drive, Frankfort, Illinois. You know, I can understand what this Marine right behind me had said about the children. And I can understand what Mr. Bias is talking about. I can understand what Mr. Patel is talking about. You guys don't know me. I run a private security agency right over here in Tinley Park. Most of my clients are cannabis dispensaries and banks. I did not intend to get into security for cannabis dispensaries. I served in the Marine Corps, 2009, 2014. Counterterrorism. Mr. Bias, thank you for your service, sir. And, you know, it's what they say about it is it's really sometimes, you know, demonized in public circles. And I think it's important to understand that the context of everything. Illinois voters have voted, and we brought this to the ballot box, and we said this is something that we want. At that point in time, I really didn't care. You know, after getting out of the military, I've been in multiple combat zones, and PTSD was something that I had a personal battle with. Cannabis is something that was there for me. You know, when the VA was pumping me full of every drug they could try and find and washing you under the desk, and you don't feel like anyone cares about you. The community and the culture of cannabis is regularly demonized by individuals in the news, media, Cheech and Chong, Snoop Dogg. That's not what they really are about. They're compassionate people. They care. They want to be there for the community. I personally agree that having Rise here, only Rise, Curaleaf, Zenleaf, that's ridiculous, right? I work with small companies every day. You know, Stash, one of my main clients right over here, they have a 20,000 square foot facility. Orland Hills is a small town, okay? They have 2 dispensaries within a mile of each other. So the concerns when Stash was coming were the same things. What about the kids in the area, the traffic flow? Anybody gonna get in here that shouldn't be able to get in here? No. The doors are locked. We have security at the front desk. We have license plate readers that track anything in the area. We've had the local police come in, ask to use our security footage to help solve crimes in the area because we capture everything that goes on. They said we have magnetic control access. You're not going to get into the facility. We're going to check your ID, and it's not, we're just going to hold the ID up and look at it. We have tools that cost thousands of dollars that scan the ID. It can detect that if you have an address in Kentucky that's registered with the Maryland zip code, it's going to flag it, and it's going to say, no, this person's not allowed in here, okay? Now, I understand crime and wanted to, you know, rejuvenate areas of Joliet that are nice. I think a $2 million investment into a vacant building that used to be an auto parts store that has since moved on is, I don't know what else you're looking for. A dog wash, a dartboard factory. Like, this is what the culture is moving toward. This is what the people want. This is what we support in our area. And as I said, I think that the security concerns are negligible at most. You know, I used to do security for United States embassies, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt. Securing a dispensary around the Chicago area is not that difficult, and if these are the biggest concerns that are helping the new taxpayers from getting a new location to serve them, then I think that it's a pretty easy decision in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd like to retouch on the things I said earlier about unfounded and baseless concerns. I too work in the industry.
Identify yourself again. You've been sworn in, but give your
James Lanham, 4230 Doe Court, Joliet. As I said in my previous public comments about unfounded and baseless concerns, I too work in the industry in the security side. Controlled access, as my boss said, stuff like that, ID checks. Kids walking by, that's just one of the myths that's constantly touted about these. They're not getting in. You have to be over 21. We scan your IDs. We can scan passports. We log that type of thing. The customers aren't going to be giving expensive product to children walking by. That's another myth. And if we're concerned about kids in danger walking down Jefferson Street, look at 2 derelict properties that are there right now, like the Fenton Hotel and the Star Inn. People aren't complaining about those, and those are way more dangerous for children to be walking by. So this is good for Joliet. There is no danger to anyone. People don't loiter because security is there. I have plenty of experience in that. Customers are very laid back, very respectful. They're happy to see security. Nothing bad happens at these dispensaries. I know the last dispensary, Councilman Clement said that there was 91 police calls at Rise. I don't see how that's possible in 2 years unless their security staff is calling the cops for a cat stuck in a tree or anything like that, but incidents at these dispensaries just do not happen. So I think those concerns that were raised back then are pretty skewered and maybe not real accurate, but this is a good industry and we need this tax revenue. Like they just raised the gas tax. The money that could have been from the previously proposed dispensary could have eliminated the need to raise a tax, and that's a tax on everyone. And the only people that are going to pay taxes at this dispensary are customers, and there's something they're willfully doing. So I would really ask that you guys discount any concerns about kids or crime or loiter or anything like that and approve this. This would be good for our city. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Chair closes the petition, asks the board for discussion and a motion.
I vote the motion to accept.
Do we have a second?
I guess I'm going down. Okay.
Chair is calling for a second. Lack of a second, is there a motion to deny?
Motion to deny.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the petition. Call the board.
Mr. Riggs?
No, or yes.
Mr. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Bias?
Yes.
Ms. Radakovich?
Yes.
Chairman Hennessy?
Aye.
Okay, this request will go to City Council with a 5-0 vote of a recommendation to deny the request.
I definitely do like the revenue. I don't know what else we could put in that would produce that much revenue. And people is gonna buy cannabis seeds someplace, and they're gonna come here to smoke it, but we're missing the revenue.
All right.
Okay, next on the agenda is petition 2025-4, a series of variations to allow construction of a new single-family home located at 1115 Cora Street.
Petitioner,
Yes. The applicant and owner is Noe Patino, and the request is again for 1115 Cora Street, and it's for a series of variations to allow construction of a new single-family residence. Under purpose, the applicant is requesting the following variations to allow construction of a new single-family house on the vacant lot at 1115 Cora Street, which is a variation to reduce the required front yard setback from 30 feet to 15 feet, variation to reduce the required side yard setback from 7.1 feet to 6 feet, variation to reduce the required sum of side yards from 17.8 feet to 12 feet. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision on these variation requests. For site-specific information, the subject site is 50 feet by 133 feet, which is 6,650 square feet total, and is currently undeveloped. The lots on this street were platted around 1890, and the subject lot has the same width and area as most other lots on the block. The property previously contained a single-family home and a detached garage that were demolished around 2014. The property is zoned R2 single-family residential. At their meeting on December 19th of 2024, the Zoning Board of Appeals reviewed a similar request from this petitioner, which included the same front yard variation and a side yard reduction to 5 feet on each side. The motion to approve this petition did not pass with 3 aye votes and 3 nay votes, so the variations were not approved. The current petition requests side yard setbacks of 6 feet on each side as opposed to the previous request of 5 feet. Under surrounding zoning, land use and character, the property is located in the Cunningham neighborhood and is surrounded by other residences with R2 single-family residential zoning. The block contains a mix of 1- and 2-story homes, most of which were built between 1880 and 1930. For applicable regulations, we have section 47-6.4, R2 district yard and lot requirements, section 47-17.22, nonconformities, section 47-19.8, findings of fact supporting a variation. Under discussion, the approval of the requested variations would allow the owner to build a new 2-story single-family home on a vacant lot. The house would be approximately 38 feet wide and 35 feet deep with a covered front porch and front-facing 2-car garage. Proposed exterior materials are vinyl siding with some brick veneer on the first floor of the main facade. The owner is requesting to reduce the side yards to 6 feet in order to fit the proposed home on the lot. The lot is 50 feet wide and 6,650 square feet in area, which is slightly smaller than the lot width of 60 feet and lot area of 7,500 feet required by the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance allows the side yards of non-conforming lots to be reduced by the same percentage as the lot area is reduced, but no smaller than 5 feet. Based on the lot area of 1115 Chorus Street, this rule would allow a side yard of 7.1 feet, which is reduced from the required 8 feet, and a sum of side yards of 17.8 feet, reduced from the required 20 feet. The owner is requesting variations to reduce these to 6 feet and 12 feet respectively. The owner is also requesting a variation to reduce the front yard setback from 30 feet to 15 feet so that the position of the new house would blend with the adjacent properties, which are older homes with setbacks approximately 16 feet and 11 feet. The proposed setback to the covered porch would be 15 feet, while the setback to the front garage wall is shown as 19.5 feet. The deeper setback to the garage will allow a driveway long enough to fit a standard passenger vehicle. Staff recommended that the petitioner reduce the front yard to be consistent with the other homes on the block. A plat of survey, site plan, and elevations, as well as floor plans, are attached. Staff finds that the request meets the following criteria for variations. The width of the lot creates practical difficulties to fitting a standard house with off-street parking on the property, and the granting of the variation will not alter the essential character of the area because it will allow the house to have similar setbacks to other homes on the block. The surrounding homes were constructed with smaller front and side yard setbacks that are currently allowed by the bulk requirements of the zoning ordinance, which were adopted in the 1960s and have not been amended since then. Under conditions, staff is recommending none, and that concludes staff's report.
Petitioner Hare. You swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law.
Yes, I do.
Name and address.
Name is Bob Gable from United Architects, 1002 Plainfield Road in Joliet. Representing the owner, Noe Patino. He couldn't make it today for some reason. As we had proposed back in December, the house was a little wider, so we came back and we trimmed it down a notch, and we're proposing to get more of the side setbacks to go for a variance. Variance is on the side setbacks.
Any other comments?
No.
Questions by the board?
Will this home be owner occupied or is this a rental?
It's a Good question. I believe it's going to be, he's building it, the owner's building it himself. I believe he's going to sell it though.
What's your relationship to the builder?
We're the architect.
Or you're the architect?
Any other questions? Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair
What's-
closes the petition, asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Bias?
Yes.
Ms. Radakovich?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Chairman Hennessy.
Aye.
Okay, that request for the variations is approved. Next on the agenda is petition 2025-5, a series of variations to allow construction of a new duplex located at 1313 Milkweed Drive. The applicant is Michael Simulton from the Housing Authority of Joliet, and the owner is Hope Bound Development Corporation. The request is again a series of variations to allow construction of a new duplex. Under purpose, the applicant is requesting the following variations to allow construction of a new duplex on the vacant lot at 1313 Milkweed Drive. A variation to reduce the required rear yard setback from 25 feet to 15 feet. A variation to increase maximum lot coverage from 30% to 31.5%. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes the final decision on these variation requests. Under site-specific information, the subject site is Lot 90 in Unit 1 of Liberty Meadow Estates Planned Unit Development, which was approved and recorded in 2007. The subdivision was developed by the Housing Authority of Joliet as a mixed-income subdivision comprised of duplexes and single-family residences. The 139-lot subdivision is built out except for 9 lots in Unit 1 that were not developed, including the subject site. The subject lot is 10,956 square feet and is irregularly shaped due to its location on the curve of the street. The underlying zoning is R4 multifamily residential. The PUD approved the use of 1 and 2 unit dwellings within the subdivision. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the property is surrounded by residential lots with an existing Housing Authority residence on the east and a vacant lot to the west that will be developed with a Housing Authority-owned duplex. The rear yard of the subject lot abuts existing residential properties in the Hermitage subdivision that are zoned R2 single-family residential. For applicable regulations, Section 47-7.4B, R3, District Yard and Lot Requirements, and Section 47-19.8, Findings of Fact Supporting a Variation. Under discussion, the approval of the requested variations would allow the petitioner, the Housing Authority of Joliet, to build a new duplex on a vacant lot within the Liberty Landing within the Liberty Meadows Estates subdivision. The subdivision was originally developed with an agreement that units owned and rented out by the Housing Authority would meet the affordability requirements set by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. To achieve this, the development received funding from several sources, including HUD's Home Investment Partnership Program. The Housing Authority is now developing 8 of the 9 remaining lots using grant funding from the American Rescue Plan, which is administered through the Home Program. The grant requires that the Housing Authority build 10 units, which will be accomplished by constructing single-family homes on 6 lots, which are 6 units, and duplexes on 2 lots, resulting in 4 units. The developer is requesting 2 variations to fit the proposed duplex on Lot 90 at 1313 Milkweed Drive. The required rear yard setback for a 1 or 2 unit residence is 25 feet. The rear wall of the proposed duplex will be 25 feet from the property line at the west corner, but only 15 feet from the property line at the east corner. Additionally, the proposed lot coverage of 31.5% exceeds the maximum residential lot coverage of 30%. The developer must use house plans consistent with the prior approved elevations for the planned unit development. The proposed plans match the duplexes built in Unit 3 in 2020. This layout cannot fit on the subject lot without a reduced setback due to the irregular shape of the lot. The house cannot be placed any closer to the front of the lot without encroaching on the side yard easements, which are angled in toward the front property line. Staff finds that the request meets the following criteria for variations. The irregular shape of the lot creates practical difficulties in that the developer cannot use the approved house plans without a variation. The lot shape is the lot shape is a unique circumstance for this property, and the granting of the variation will not alter the essential character of the area, as the subdivision was meant to be a mix of duplexes and single-family homes constructed with a set of previously approved house plans. Under suggested conditions, there are none, and that concludes staff's report.
Commissioner Hare? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Name and address.
John Ditter, John Stephen Ditter Architect, 909 Valley Lane, Lockport, Illinois.
Go ahead.
We just want to thank working with City of Joliet staff on trying to get this variance here, as you mentioned. This is part of a larger project that was started nearly 20 years ago. There have been 3 phases of the project, and this is the remaining 9 out of the 10 remaining lots that we have. There's some previous house plans that were approved as part of the original phase 1 of the project that we're looking to utilize, and these 2 lots that you see here on this corner will allow the developer to maintain the amount of units that they are looking to get on this site to fulfill the grant requirement. So here to answer any questions that you have, and would appreciate your approval. Thank you.
Okay, questions by the board?
I'm out of Mr. How many square feet per unit? How many?
These, I don't have the exact amount of those. I believe they're around 1,100 square feet per each side of the building.
Were they 1 bedroom?
These are 2-bedroom units.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? You swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Name and address.
My name is Pedro Valdez, the owner of 1409 Demon Street, Joliet. I just have a couple questions because, if they plan to do the duplex, they highlight on some of the property and some areas, because my property is like a corner thing. So they highlight in some of my area, and then I have my survey, the plan survey. When they want to measure like a month ago, they measure onto my fence. The old owners, they make a fence, but they put it like 10 feet in the house. And the guys who was measured for the duplex, they measure close right next to the fence of my house. So I just have a question on that one. How they gonna build that, if they're gonna take some of my property, or how they gonna do it?
Sir, want to answer that?
I'm not aware of the situation. Your adjacent property owners that you're indicating?
He said 1,100.
I'm the owner of the property.
On the bottom floor, yeah.
1409 Demon Street.
It's 2 units.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Pardon me?
But when the guys get there, they was measure it. I don't know if they measure for for the duplex, but they measure right next to my fence, to the fence that I got on the house. But I have 10 feet over the fence still on my property.
But who
the guy
has the
says-
information on where the measurement was? Anyone?
I had the guy was measuring, and then I had they highlight, the paper right there. See, they highlight right next to my fence, and then he was measuring to that. This is my house.
Okay.
And then he was measuring from there to my fence, all that he was measuring. And he was like, oh, they told me to measure to here from there.
Was that the surveyor?
I have the survey, my plan, my survey, I have it right here with me.
Yeah. Who was doing the measuring? Was it the surveyor?
I'm not exactly sure who that was out there at the time with it. I guess I can assure that the plan of survey that we have for our property will be adhering to any approved setbacks.
Are you saying that what he has is in contradiction with what you have?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure, I'm not aware of the situation here, so we can work with the property
Right.
owner and just understand what his concern is, and hopefully.
No, my only concern is if they're gonna build it, they're gonna take some of my property or?
No, no, no.
No, they can't take
They
any of your
can't take,
property.
no,
So
no.
how they highlight the property, when they measure it and they mark a record too?
Yeah, but if the surveyor comes out, he can put the pen on the line between you and he. He can put a pen, he can, when he's surveying, then he measures from the pen back to where he needs to be for the setback. He has to have a reference point to start to do the setback from your property. You understand?
Yeah, I understand, but the guy who was measuring there, he told me like, we have to measure from here to there. I don't know who was, he don't tell me who was.
Whose fence is that behind? Is that your fence? It's a black fence?
He, Lockport has his fence, that property, they built a fence like probably 2 years ago. But the guy who was measured from my fence to the other side. I don't have no idea who was because he don't tell me who was working for him.
Well, if they start to build on your property, come back, let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair closes petition and asks the board for discussion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Bias?
Aye.
Ms. Radakovich?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Stiff?
Aye.
Chairman Hennessy.
Aye.
Okay, the variations for this request are approved. Next on the agenda is petition 2025-6, which is a variation of use to allow a 2-unit residence, which is an R3, 1 and 2 family residential use, in an R2, single family residential zoning district, and a series of variations to allow a 2-unit residence located at 845 North Broadway Street. Associated with this request is also a repeal of petition 1983-4, which is a variation of use to allow the continued use of a bait shop in an R3, 1 and 2 family residential zoning district located at 845 North Broadway Street. The applicant and owner of this property is Jim Hensley. And again, the location is 845 North Broadway Street. Under purpose, the applicant is requesting a variation of use to allow the addition of 1 residential unit for a total of 2 residential units located at 845 North Broadway Street. The applicant is proposing to convert the first floor commercial space of this building into 1 residential apartment. As part of this request, the existing variation of use, which was petition 1983-4, which was to allow the use of a bait shop with sales of packaged liquor in addition to a reduction of off-street parking. And that was approved under ordinance number 7832 in June of 1983. This would be repealed. The variation of use requests must be considered by the City Council following the recommendation of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The applicant is also requesting a variation to reduce the minimum lot area per family from 7,500 square feet to 1,642 square feet. The property has existing yard and lot nonconformities. Section 47-17.223, nonconforming structures of the zoning ordinance, allows pre-existing nonconformities to remain as long as the structures are not enlarged or altered in a way that increases their nonconformity. The petitioner will not be changing the footprint of the main building or accessory garage with the planned interior renovation. Under site-specific information, the subject property is approximately 3,284 square feet in size and contains a two-story building with vinyl siding with a one-story rear addition. Between the main building and an accessory garage in the property's rear, the subject property contains a lot coverage of approximately 55%. A variation to allow this lot coverage was approved in 1979. The building was constructed in the 1930s. Several commercial uses have occupied the ground floor of the building, with an apartment use typically occupying the second floor. In 1983, the City Council approved a variation of use to allow a bait shop with packaged liquor sales and a parking reduction to allow the continuation of a business use at this location. The petitioner wishes to convert the ground floor from a commercial use to a second dwelling unit in the building. The renovation would create separate points of access for each dwelling unit, with the ground floor access coming from the Ross Street north side of the building through an existing side door. The second story unit would be accessed from the rear west building elevation extension. The petitioner intends to add a 3-space parking pad to the rear yard to allow for off-street parking. Per section 47-17.17N2 of the zoning ordinance, 1.5 parking spaces are required for each dwelling unit. Under surrounding zoning, land use, and character, the property is located at the southwest corner of North Broadway Street and Ross Street. The surrounding neighborhood is largely comprised of R2 single-family residential, R3 1 and 2 family residential, and B3 general business district zone properties. The North Broadway Street corridor contains a mix of single-family, duplex, and multifamily residential lots with automotive or neighborhood commercial uses located at certain corner intersections. The subject property is located across from Route 66 Park, which is on the east side of North Broadway Street. The zoning and land use for the adjacent properties are as follows. To the north is B3 General Business, which is an auto towing business. To the south is R2 Single Family Residential with a single family residence. To the east is B3 General Business, and that's Route 66 Park. To the west is R2 Single Family Residential with a single family residence. For applicable regulations, Section 47-17.28, variation of use. Section 47-19.8, criteria for granting a variation. And Section 47-6, which is R2 Single Family Residential Zoning District. And then as well as Section 47-17.28, variation of use. Under discussion, the petitioner is requesting a variation of use to allow the use of 2 dwelling units, an R3 1 and 2 family residential use, and an R2 single family residential zoning district. The petitioner believes having a second dwelling unit in the building will be more beneficial than attempting to recruit and maintain a neighborhood commercial use for the ground floor unit. While the petitioner intends to add some parking to the rear of the building, a lack of on-street parking in the area creates a challenging environment for the long-term viability of a commercial use at the subject property. The neighborhood features strong residential density. However, walkability to the subject site is somewhat lessened by a lack of connectivity from the adjacent block of Ross Street to the rest of the Cunningham neighborhood. Given current local demand for increased housing volume and diversity, staff supports the petitioner's request to add a second dwelling unit in the main building. If the variation of use is approved, the petitioner will need to obtain all the necessary building permits and complete all renovations prior to the occupancy of the unit. Since the main building is being altered to allow 2 dwelling units on the subject property, a variation to reduce the minimum lot area per family or per dwelling unit is required to avoid a nonconformity with the underlying zoning district. In this instance, the variation would reduce the required minimum lot area per family from 7,500 square feet, which is the minimum requirement for an R2 single-family residential zoning district, to 1,642 square feet per dwelling unit. The subject property was downzoned in 1998 from R3 1 and 2 family residential zoning to R2 single family residential zoning, along with many of the properties in the surrounding area. However, the dimensions of the subject property have remained the same since the downzoning was enacted, thereby creating a natural mismatch between the required underlying zoning square footage of 7,500 square feet and the existing lot size of 3,284 square feet. The property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the R2 zoning regulations due to the pre-existing nature of the undersized lot. The downzoning that occurred in 1998 that brought about the non-conforming nature of the zoning applied to the subject property represents a unique circumstance. Since the neighborhood contains a variety of housing types with both single and multifamily residential dwellings, staff does not believe the variations requested would alter the essential character of the locality. Approval of the requested variation to reduce the minimum lot area per family will allow 2 dwelling units to operate legally at the subject property. Under conditions, if the zoning board desires to approve this variation of use request to allow a 2-unit residence, an R3 1 and 2 family residential use, and an R2 single family residential zoning district, and a series of variations, and to repeal the existing variation of use granted in 1983, which was petition 1983-4, staff recommends the following conditions be included. That the proposed rear yard off-street parking area shall be paved with concrete, bituminous concrete, or other approved surface material in accordance with section 47-17 .17J of the zoning ordinance and other applicable ordinances. That off-street parking for a minimum of 3 vehicles shall be provided. 3, that the existing fence in the rear yard shall be removed. 4, that all necessary building permits shall be obtained and all renovations completed prior to the occupancy of the unit. 5, that any and all outstanding building and property maintenance code violations shall be remedied as directed by the City of Joliet Department of Neighborhood Services. 6, that the property shall remain in and comply with the city's rental inspection program. 7, should the property be declared a public nuisance by the city council, the variation of use shall be subject to a rehearing and possible revocation of the variation of use. And that concludes staff's report.
Okay. Should we handle this separately? Shouldn't we do the repeal?
You can handle them separately.
Should we do the repeal first? And then the...
Sure, yes.
I think that would make more sense.
If you want to repeal the bait shop, yes.
Yeah, repeal that, and then we can vote on the new one.
Yes, you can take them in that order if you'd like.
Petitioner here? Do you swear the evidence you're about to present to be the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Name and address.
Jimmy Hensley, 111 South Midland Avenue, Joliet.
Got the floor.
Just looking to turn that downstairs unit into an apartment. You know, it was a bait shop for many years. I bought it off of a family member, just trying to help him get rid of it. And I own several properties in Joliet. Not any problems with the rental program. Every time my units get inspected, they usually get approved for multiple years.
Okay, questions by the board? I've been on this board so long, I think we've had this building on here about 5 times. I feel like I lived there. No questions by the board. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Chair closes the petition, asks the board for discussion and a motion.
Motion to repeal
Second.
1983-04.
We have a motion and a second to repeal the petition. Poll the board.
Ms. Radakovich?
Aye.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Stiff?
Aye.
Mr. Bias?
Aye.
Chairman Hennessy?
Aye. Motion for petition 22506.
1983-04.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's a motion
The
to
variation of use, yeah.
Now the variation.
approve the variation, approve 2025-05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. Poll the board.
Mr. Riggs?
Aye.
Mr. Stiff?
Aye.
Mr. Bias?
Aye.
Ms. Radakovich?
Aye.
Chairman Hennessy.
Aye.
Okay, both petitions will move on to city council with recommendations of approval. So that'd be a recommendation to approve the repeal and a recommendation to approve the variation of use request.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda is old business or new business, not for final action or recommendation. We have no agenda items under that section. Next, we have public comment. This is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. Is there anyone here who would like to speak under public comments? With that, adjournment is the next agenda item.
Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting
All
adjourned.
right.
No nos.
All right, I'm out of here.
problem.
Hey, Ralphie.
Easy to understand.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Deb, good seeing you.
Good seeing you. Take care.